Are we ready?
Yes, sir, you're live.
All right. Welcome back to Tyler County Commissioners Court. We have, got a motion to come out of recess at 11:12 a.m. There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same. All right. And we were talking about comments by court members pertaining to county matters. Mr. Luther, we've got just a few questions that we would like to ask. Now, we had several inquiries this weekend. People had got their tax statements and I got quite a few phone calls this weekend. So you could only imagine, a lot of homes prices, some of them went up over $100,000 prices in the homes. So we're just wondering if you can explain some of that to us, there.
It's mostly mobile homes, property with mobile homes on it. It is unbelievable what people are paying to put a mobile home on 10 acres of land, $200,000 to $300,000. And that's what we're charged with, is to follow that market. So that's what I did. We changed our schedules for mobile homes. In my research, however, there's not all mobile homes are not the same. If you look at the manufacturers, some of them are better than others. There's national ratings that I found. And then within a manufacturer, they have a cheap model and the better model. We didn't have all of that information on mobile homes. I had to kind of use an average on a lot of them. And then there were some that we had a factor on that made the value go up even higher. So there's some out there that are probably double what they should be. And we're addressing those now, looking through those. Still gonna be an increase though. Mobile homes on the roll for $30,000 or $40,000, no such thing anymore. Unless they're just really bad shape, it just doesn't happen. So that's one thing. It's real important that they contact us, at least get on our list so we know that we need to check them. Because some of them we don't have the ages on. Mobile homes built before, I can't remember the year, mid-90s or something like that, were treated differently, had different standards than the newer ones. Certainly the ones before 1976 are much different than the ones after 1976. So I have a lot more information now to look at. I've got sales where mobile homes over $100 square foot. That's unheard of. Unheard of for me. But people are doing it. They're getting financing. They were getting financing. Interest rates up. I'm not sure that's still happening. On our regular homes, that market has kind of leveled out. We didn't make any changes on those. In fact, some of them went down. So we're seeing that correct, like I hoped it would. So,
I had several of those this weekend who contacted that they did go up, and one, I know there was a couple that was tremendously. Ms. Sandra, would you be scared to share with what yours went up?
I received my tax appraisal this Saturday, which was dated August the 7th. And my market value went down on the home, but the appraisal at the very least went up $46,195. So can you explain to me
is it your homestead?
What do you mean?
It's your residence.
Homesteads have a limit on what we can appraise. But it keeps going up until it gets to our appraisal amount.
Okay, mine is.
So the value could go down and the homestead value could still go up. But $40,000 sounds too much. That would translate
That's a
into
commitment.
that would be a $400,000 house for that to happen.
I agree that it's probably that, but not a, 731,000. I don't agree with that.
That's what it's appraised.
Y'all built this,
8 years ago, we built this house, so we should have never been behind. You know how we talked every year about catching up
Mhm.
because we paid lower taxes for all those years? I should not have ever been behind. It was finished in September 2016. And that's just right prior to, 1 year prior to our taxes, our valuation starting to go up. And I don't
You don't have
think I know I'm not
You
alone.
didn't bring the paper with you, did you, by chance?
No, I did not.
What's that?
I have a field,
What's your last name?
Williams.
Williams.
I really would not want to do this in public.
No?
Really don't want to do this in public.
Okay, all right. Well, she don't want to do that in public.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
this is not appropriate.
Yeah.
I was gonna look, see what we did.
Yeah, I will be meeting with you. I've asked for, an appointment.
Okay.
And I will be meeting with you. I don't think this is something I want to do in the public.
Well,
Okay.
I don't mind doing mine.
Yeah.
On my home here, mine's kind of the same thing, you know, the values went down, but the appraisal on each one of the entities went up. The taxes went up.
Now, your appraisal went down from 203,000 to 199. You were only taxed at 173 last year because we could only go up 10%. It could go up another 10%, and that's what it did. It went to 190, but it's still below that market value. So that's
But value truly.
if we didn't have that protection, everybody would have got much bigger increase. That law has been in effect for quite a while. About the only thing we could do on something like this is to protest what we showed to be the 198,000. If we could protest it and then value ends up less than 190, then
So can they do that every year, the 10%?
10% every year until it hits the market value.
So when it gets to the market value, it stops.
Stops.
The
Now-
10%, is
now,
that what we call the
that-
cap?
What's important though, is most people don't protest whenever in the first couple of years, because they see the value being less than what it's appraised at. But at some point, it's important to bring that up, because the market 3 years ago might be totally different than it is today. So it's important that we look at them, nothing else. Yeah, this has been going on for years. Every time we do a reappraisal, we'd be capped and then it would catch up on the homesteads.
And the cap is at 10%.
Cap's
But
10%.
it can reach up to 20%.
The cap is 10% on homesteads. This year, for the first time, all other property, except for agriculture and timber and homesteads, is capped at 20%. We've never had that before. It's something we voted on last November when we increased the homestead exemption to 100,000. That means Walmarts and Brookshire Brothers and restaurants and all other property, they're capped at 20%. So that's brand new. So we're losing value because of that. But
so let me ask you this, you talk about business going up, the values of the businesses in the county, they were undervalued, but we're not gonna see that this year.
you'll see 20%.
Huh?
You'll get the 20% of it.
Well,
That's what we were discussing, was the changes that are being made at this time with the appraisal notice that was sent out. These are 2024 changes, so these value changes will come over on the supplement or be corrected before I get the appraisal.
Yes.
So the values that I have now, that we've calculated the tax rate on, are actually not the true values.
They never are.
No, I know, you and I know that, and they're not, but because we get supplements all the time.
And that, the worksheet that I did,
Right, and that's.
I did 2 subtractions, one for commercial property and one for mobile home.
Which is what I subtracted from the.
What I did, I have an obligation to our taxing entities not to certify a value that I'm not sure we're gonna have. So I have an obligation to back out that value if I don't know it's gonna happen. What I did was to take this year's mobile home values, subtracted last year's mobile home values, and pulled that out of your totals. Because we don't know, especially when I realized that we had some of them doubled.
Because
because of
that's
some other
probably
factors.
gonna be property that goes under protest, correct?
Those 2 are not under protest because
Not
we
yet.
had not sent out notices yet.
Right.
But I
That's
knew
why
we would.
pulled them out.
I mean,
But what I'm saying is they will probably go under protest.
the ones that are under protest, we added back down to the bottom, our midway.
Right, but those are the properties that are actually under protest.
Yes,
What I'm talking about is these properties that we've subtracted out are properties that you're just now sending the notices out on, and they will probably go under protest, but they're not yet.
yeah, or we may correct some even if they don't protest, we may still correct some if I find those double factors in there.
Okay.
They will eventually come over on supplement.
Right, and I'll probably.
But in your totals, in your tax rate calculations, I couldn't see putting those in there if I didn't know, but that's new ground for us. Commercial properties hadn't been looked at in a long time. We found out last year in the hearing upstairs. I did leave the value that was already there on those. So there's potentially, I mean, that's $47 million we pulled out. Even if you get half of that back, that's still gonna be better than it was. Next year, you have to make adjustments for your tax rate.
Right, so whatever values can put on for 24, when I start the calculations for 25, that will go into the new totals for the 24 tax year.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
and
your next year's budget.
yes, so how will that affect my tax calculation?
It should bring in more money for 24 than what we're estimating, assuming that we're gonna be able to hold some of that back.
Okay.
Next year, when we do the 2025 tax year for your 26 budget, if we have a lot of that value does come on, that's gonna show up and force your rate down a little bit.
So bring our rate back.
It will
The
have,
values will still show they've went up a little, but the
Right.
rates will come down.
right.
In my mind, I understand what you're saying with the mobile homes. I kind of understand that a little bit. My mind don't quite get with the business. Well, why did that not get thrown in there? I mean, if you're waiting a whole another year to put the business on there, I don't quite understand that.
No, it's
raised
We're not, it's in there.
20%. Okay.
It's in the 20%.
So, but 20%'s in there
Right.
on the increase. Okay.
That's the case.
But you think they're gonna probably protest that 20%?
Let me shut this off. Sorry.
Can you,
Yeah, I think we'll certainly have some protests. I've already had some phone calls.
can you explain to them the formula that you use to get those? I mean, I know you can't do it in great detail at this point, but explain to them how you get those market values, where they come from exactly.
We don't have a lot of sales on commercial property. There are cost manuals, national cost manuals that banks and everybody else uses, professional appraisals. And, we have those incorporated into our software. So if we know we have a building that's, a commercial building, it's 16 foot high, it's metal, steel frame, got electricity, it's open inside. We find those descriptions and then we will assign that class to that property. And then the computer will calculate a replacement cost, what it costs to build it new.
I
And
think,
then based on the age and the condition, we will start depreciating that back in.
so
and then add the
those-
land.
Those schedules, that's what I'm trying to get at, those schedules that you have to plug all that information into so that it calculates it, it's not something that just comes out of your head, it comes from a place.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm trying, the state is the one that designates that information, that's what I'm trying to get you.
When the
to
state does their
explain.
studies, they're using these exact same manuals.
Right, and where did those manuals come from? They come from federal government or they come?
It's a company called Marshall and Swift Valuation Service, who's been bought out by CoreLogic. CoreLogic is a national research company that provides information for hotel and for a lot of different industries when they collect data.
So it's a mass
It's kind of a-
collection of data,
It's kind of expensive.
and the state has to approve it.
No,
Who has to approve
no,
it?
they just come in and audit our appraisals. And if our appraisals are not where they think they are, because they're using their cost manuals.
Okay, so the state audits your appraisals,
Right.
and that's why, so you have to stick to whatever they're,
But they don't tell us what manuals we have to use. They tell us where we can get our manuals from.
okay.
Certain,
I think that's what y'all want to know, is where this information
Well,
comes
it's
from.
the-
Like timber.
the
Yeah,
state
it's
money.
the
I'll give you an example about, a good example about timber. We get our value, stumpage prices off from Texas A&M Forest Service. We get other data, growth data and all from the Department of Agriculture for U.S. Department of Forest, with Department of Agriculture. Anyway, they come in and they do measure trees, and they come back to the same property ever so often and measure the growth.
Yeah.
That way they know the growth of a tree within a year. Because when we do our valuations, we're not appraising the income that you get when you sell the timber. That would be huge in 1 year. We're measuring
The
the
growth.
growth, the value of the growth of 1 year. So anyway, we're told where to get that information. Texas A&M Forest Science, interesting enough, has a couple of people that graduated from LSU School of Forestry. LSU has a wonderful school of forestry. We cannot use information from outside the state. It has to come from within universities. A lot of people rely on LSU School of Forestry in East Texas because it's temporarily up.
Information is from our state, it's not.
But we're prohibited. It's really good information, in my opinion, it would help the taxpayers. But we're not allowed to use that. Same way with the appraisal manuals. We can only get them if they fall within the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, which was set up in the 1980s when the savings and loans were all failing. Congress created the Appraisal Foundation as an organization of different groups, banks and different people. They created these standards from which we have to operate. And standards 6 and 7 or 7 and 8 are specifically directed at us.
David, how do we fight these problems? What do we do to see if the state can redo their information?
Because David, a home in Tyler County is not gonna sell for what a home in Hardin County and Lumberton.
Right, that's why we only use sales.
But it seems like the prices are about the same, and it just,
No, the sales are only from within this county that we have plenty of those sales.
Yeah.
We used to didn't get any. The realtors won't give it to us, the MLS won't give it to us, the state won't give it to us, even though they get it. TransUnion, one of the 3 credit rating companies, now has that data, and they sell it to us, sell it to appraisal districts. Interesting enough, they sell it to us for 50 cents per sale, but it has to be a minimum order of $5,000. So for what we could buy, all the sales in Tyler County might be $350, we have to pay $5,000 a year.
That's crazy.
But we have that information now. We didn't have it before.
But isn't that what they want statewide, is for everything to be kind of level?
They want,
sure he's
they want
good
the
at that.
appraisal levels to be the same throughout the state for whatever the market is in that area. That's why they come in and do studies on individual appraisal districts, is to see what we're doing in our
I'm
area.
reading right now, there's not anything around Tyler
Our
County
numbers.
cheap anymore, land, houses, or nothing.
But so even though we're keeping it, we know the values within Tyler County, and you're keeping it as low as you can, they're
Yeah.
still coming in and designating that this has to come up. Is that what I'm hearing?
My philosophy, I guess, is that if the ideal perfect world says you're at 100% of the market, that's where your target is. But if I go to 100%, I'm using data to get to that 100%. That means I've got half the people overappraised and half the people underappraised. So I use 90 is what I try to do.
So you're safe saying with Commissioner's Court, your values, your taxable value for like pretty much for our general fund was $1,485,955,558. And taxable value. And the reason I want, we're moving on with this budget, and we want to be for sure as a court that this is a good number that you are safe with. And that because some of these numbers I'm not gonna lie, it was we were very hesitant to move forward with this, and
It's mostly because of those appraisals.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part of it, they're scaring. So many
and that's
people.
scaring a lot of sure, not only our taxpayers, but what affects our taxpayers affects this court, so.
And I figured out with all the increases on my taxable value,
But did they put the homestead?
I don't think it's taxable still.
Yeah. But they did on there? Because my neighbor got it, said they didn't have a homestead.
Not homesteads thing.
so with all the increases, yeah, it'd go up $491 just on me. Just going with no new revenue. That's all, but that's each, not counting the school, because I'm sure the school's gonna be the same thing too. So it's gonna be even more than that.
What I have in our computer today, including the protest, including the commercial and the mobile homes, is $1,535,000.
And that's with the new information.
So that's a $50 million swing from where y'all are at, with what I've given you. If we're able to pick that half of that back up, because now we get them.
You said $1,530,000,000?
$1,535,000. And that's with the frozen value out.
Won't say it again, but because that's
See,
1,000,005.
This is what we got right here, Dave.
1,500.
We got $1,485,000,000.
And
So
that's,
yours
and that's the number I gave y'all.
Okay, yes.
But as of today, it's $1,535,000,000.
That's the new values that are coming.
That's what we have in our computer that's subject to protest. That's the
Subject to
mobile
protest.
homes and the commercial property.
And
So I,
So that's why it was.
that's why we don't have our real taxable value not there, because it's subject to protest.
right.
Right.
If I certified 1,535,000 to you, and then come back and deduct, tell y'all we've made $40 million worth of changes, you're not gonna like it. If you build your budget based on that. Well, so that's why the legislature, we have to do estimates.
If we did it like that,
So
and
this is
it
with the
depreciate,
possibility of
we
changes.
wouldn't,
What you
because
gave,
we would
remember
generate
you
less then.
gave, It's with the
And then our
possibility of
budget, we
changes,
would,
and it's a safe figure.
but that's why he's being
It's
safe.
causing more money to come in, it would cost a little bit less of a value, but it's not figured currently.
Whatever we get,
We don't know what it is.
let's say we get 25 million of that.
Okay.
It's gonna be given to the county that they will send out bills and hopefully collect taxes on it.
That's the supplemental changes I was telling you about.
That 25 million will go into the tax rate formula next year because it wasn't considered this year.
Gotcha. But as far as our revenue to collect taxes on, what we based our budget on, all the potential changes were not added into that number you gave us.
Right. The 1,485,000 is solid.
But we do have
Solid.
the potential to collect more.
But we have a potential to collect more.
But it will be affected in the next year's
Tax rate.
tax rate.
In the tax rate calculation, you'll get your money this year on whatever it ends up being.
It'll come out in calculations.
But the value next year will be increased or adjusted,
If the values go up, then
the
the
rate goes down, which means we should
Which
still.
is a good,
It'll make your budget stay.
Correct.
Yeah.
the ideal is that we get our work done before July 25th, so we don't have this. Last year, the voters approved these property tax relief measures. And the one that capped commercial property and homes that are not homesteads and things of that sort, was a shock that come out of the legislature. It's not ever been done anywhere in the country, so computer programmers, it was a total new thing to them.
Talking about last
They
year.
called it circuit breaker. Circuit breaker across the country means a additional tax relief for the elderly. So circuit breaker, when they passed it, called it circuit breaker. Our first thought was, well, we could handle that. Computer companies have dealt with that in other states. But it ended up being something totally different. That has been really, really tough. The computer company we use has over half the appraisal districts in Texas. This kind of problem has happened across the state. Not with just this computer company, but others as well. They would come out with a change, say in April. We would put it in the system and then do some tests, and it wouldn't come out like it's supposed to. They sent out another one a month later, the same thing would happen. And this has been going on till we finally got one in end of June, I think it was. So some districts went ahead and mailed notices back in April, and it was a mess in those appraisal districts. I chose to hold up and send out something that would be better. I guess we could argue that, well, I should have went ahead and sent them out if I had these mobile homes and commercial properties that was going to cause protest and all, then it wouldn't have mattered.
You gotta go one at a time.
But again, the idea is that you don't have to make these kinds of adjustments when it finally gets to tax rate time.
But you've already separated what you think is gonna be protesting, which could adjust the values or whatever.
Right. Right.
Which won't affect the number that you gave.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
When is the deadline?
Now, I don't know what happened. I did not do a study, but Lakeland, was something that I had pulled out some value last year. Because we didn't have all the sections set up.
There was a lot of that in the protest too.
And we worked through all those are all done. But we lost value that we did not anticipate with agriculture. People putting beehives on the property if they had over 5 acres. And $150,000 lot ended up being $500 on the roll. In that instance, I didn't pull out enough value.
But that's already figured into this.
Yeah. There are things that
Provided.
potentially could happen. We didn't dream that would happen. And it was only on some. It wasn't universal because not everybody has over 5 acres. That could change when people build a house next door. So somebody might say something. You guys have a question?
When is the deadline of
I think it's September 6th.
I think so.
It's 30 days. It's 30 days. It fell on a weekend, so we had to go to the following Monday. So on some of them are the Friday before because we got them out before.
So when people ask, we need to tell them protest now, or wait to go ahead and protest.
Yeah.
And they do have.
Yeah, and some people don't like to be associated with filing protest. I encourage them to do it anyway. That's the only way we're gonna assure them that we're gonna be looking at those.
Jack was asking.
So do they have to apply online for protest, or can they come into the office?
Yeah, our attorneys told us that if it right there on a sheet of toilet paper and send it in, we have to accept it. So if we can identify the property and the owner, we don't even have to have the account number. If they call in, we've got a login system. That if they're just asking questions and they're satisfied, we log that in.
Can they call in and file online? Can they call in and y'all file it online?
We have to have the signed protest.
Okay, it has to be signed.
Um,
So they
But
have to go up
but
there.
we will at least log it in.
Yeah.
We will at least log it in so we know that they did call. Because some people would come in and say, well, I called and I talked to somebody. We couldn't
But the document.
confirm it or not.
This one.
Anything else?
Any other questions? All right. Clear as mud? Well, I know, it's a very,
Wait, let me ask you,
Tough thing.
if I went in and you lowered my value,
yeah,
and you did, you lowered
Yeah.
down what I thought I could live with, then next year, if you go up another 10%,
Still, they get
I guess to the.
As long as the appraisal that we put on is higher than the cap, it's gonna keep going until
So
we
you're
get
starting that cycle all over again. I got it.
I know.
understand that you get enough information there, what you wanted.
David, if somebody does protest online, what information do they have to provide? I mean, do they have to, what I'm asking is, like a receipt where they paid for something for a certain way? or-
Well, we can do that later.
Contact their-
Later.
The main thing is just get the protest in.
Get them.
And then you get yourself together and take up.
Right. On the notice, there's a code that a taxpayer just types into, go on our website, type it in, and that gets them into the protest system.
Melissa, you had talked to me about maybe, and you spoke with David about possibly, is there any kind of letter or something you could get for us? to
Yeah.
Put on our website?
I've been promising her one all weekend.
Okay, just some kind of letter or something where we can explain to our constituents, and have something on there. Maybe we can put it in the paper as well and everything. We can have
It
that.
should be published,
Yeah.
better off we all want.
Yeah.
So,
If you could do that for us, David, that would be very appreciated by the court.
And I know you are the elected officials and people call you, but encourage them to contact us.
Okay.
It's illegal for you to contact me directly
No. That's
and
why.
try to influence.
Yeah.
You can give me a name, phone number, and say, hey, these people are unhappy, give them a call. For some reason, the legislature thinks that the elected officials are controlling the appraisal industry.
And then,
And that's probably as far from the
but
truth as it can be.
unfortunately, so do our constituents.
Yeah, because.
Our constituents call us, David, that's why they're calling us and saying, why don't you do something with the appraisal district?
Because they put it on the bottom of our tax statement.
They put it on a tax
Yeah.
statement that, hey, call your local, your local elected officials.
It's like a circle, and then people see that.
They want the credit for the good things they did. Oh, we did all these things, but hey, blame your commissioner's court for the reason you're paying this much tax.
Was the protest form printed on the back of the protest form, was it printed on the back of the notice?
Yes, on the back of the notice. And there's a PIN number included in, your account.
I was kind of upset when I saw that they put the protest on the back of the notice, because if you mail that in, you don't have a copy of your notice. So I encourage people to make a copy of the protest form and send it in, as opposed to the whole thing.
David, I thank you. That helps me some. I'm not gonna say it's clear, it's about clear as mud, but, it does help me some with that. And I appreciate you, at least coming in here and helping us with that.
I think we're gonna know in probably a couple weeks, about how much is going to be affected based on what we're doing right now and based on the phone calls. Because we're trying to match our records up with the Department of Housing and Community Affairs, one that controls manufactured housing in the state. And that is going to give us a lot of appreciation information. And based on that, I think I can give you all a better estimate on what we're talking about.
Thank you, David.
next about the mobile homes, Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, that's the mobile homes, because they'll know whether the values are correct or.
They gave us a printout of every mobile home that they have registered in the county.
Anything else from Commissioner's Court? All right, need a motion to adjourn?
So,
Motion, second, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same. Thank you.
So is this gonna have that back proposed, right?